Good evening and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Corey Waldron, and it is my privilege to stand before you tonight as Centurion's Executive Director. I am thrilled to see so many of our longtime supporters here tonight, and it's been my pleasure to meet some new faces who are just getting to learn about this incredible organization. For our newer guests, you'll find that the bonds shared among the people in this room run deep. This is truly a family. We've come together from across the country and, from what I understand, across the world even, and our ranks span generations. As we start the evening, it's my pleasure to welcome all members of the Centurion family, old and new, to our 40th Anniversary Gala. Tonight, we celebrate a distinguished milestone. 40 years ago, Centurion was founded as the first organization in the world with a mission to pursue truth and justice for the wrongfully imprisoned. Throughout the last 4 decades, Centurion has given hope to countless innocent men and women who otherwise would have gone ignored and unheard. Since our inception, we have been the organization that rises to the challenges that seem insurmountable to others. We take on the battles that seem unwinnable, and we don't stop fighting until our clients are free. It's not in Centurion's DNA to give up, and it's not in our nature to walk away when the battle for freedom has been won. We are there to support our clients in building self-determined lives after they are released and helping them throughout their lives, however we can, for as long as they need us. Despite the growing number of obstacles we face in freeing wrongfully imprisoned individuals and helping them rebuild their lives, we'll be here to fight for justice for the innocent in prison for the next 40 years and beyond. Centurion's fortitude is grounded in our founder's powerful conviction that the truth, however elusive, must be pursued at all costs. Jim McCluskey's efforts to free Jorge Chifi de los Santos sparked the start of the Innocence Movement and ultimately redefined our understanding of justice within this country's criminal legal system. Jim, so many of us in this room owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. If you would please stand so that we can recognize you. Jim did not work alone in blazing the trail to freedom for so many. Tonight, we honor a man who, like Jim, 40 years ago, stepped up to consider a possibility that most at the time considered preposterous. Perhaps there were innocent people in prison, and perhaps we could unravel those injustices. Paul Castellero was the attorney who worked on Centurion's very first case, and he now serves as our legal director. Paul is the most experienced post-conviction attorney in the country. His indomitable dedication to the people that we serve and unmatched legal acumen has given a voice to the voiceless and helped so many obtain their rightful freedom. Paul is truly deserving of our Champion of Justice Award. Paul represented both of the freed men we'll be honoring tonight. As a matter of fact, during last year's gala, he was unable to be with us because he was in New Orleans attending a hearing from Mr. Dwayne LeBlanc. I am proud to report that tonight, 1 year later, Dwayne is free and here to celebrate with us. While we will hear more of their stories later, for now, Dwayne and Lucio, welcome home. Along with Dwayne and Lucio, we celebrate all of the innocent men and women that Centurion has freed since our founding in 1983. These individuals and their families have suffered unimaginable loss and injustice that most of us can't even imagine, and they've done it with incomparable fortitude and dignity. They are some of the most courageous, resilient people you will ever meet. I hope that you spend time tonight talking with them and getting to know their stories. They went unheard and unseen for far too long. I invite all of our freed family members to please stand so that we can recognize you. This work is arduous, no doubt. It requires a special kind of doggedness and tenacity. It is only possible because we have a team of compassionate, tireless individuals who are dedicated to Centurion's mission at their very cores. Our team is made up of a group of staff, volunteers, and board members who simply do not quit. They are unflinching in their work, and they leave no stone unturned in pursuit of the truth. It's my pleasure to invite all of Centurion's former and current board, staff members, and volunteers to stand. I would be totally remiss if I didn't take a moment to specifically acknowledge the third member of the trifecta that made Centurion who we are today. Kate Germond, you're known as Mom for good reason. Thank you for everything you do, for making sure that the history of this organization remains a part of our future, and for simply being a fearless woman in all of our corners. We are also joined tonight by family members, friends, supporters, and advocates of the men and women we have freed and of those clients who are still incarcerated. These individuals fight for their loved ones for decades, never once doubting their innocence. They walked with their freed family members as they try to navigate a dramatically changed world after their release. They are lawyers, investigators, and advocates who fought so long and hard that they can now only be considered family. Your unwavering support and dedication to the people that we serve does not go unnoticed. I'd like to ask all family members, loved ones, friends, and investigators who are with us to please stand and allow us to show you our undying appreciation. As we celebrate, we must also acknowledge the battles that we have yet to win and keep those who are still wrongfully incarcerated in our hearts. We celebrate the memory of those we have lost, and we honor the memory of those who did not live to see their names cleared. The fight against wrongful convictions grows increasingly difficult. Every time we take on a new client, we know that we are embarking on a journey that will most likely include heartbreaking setbacks, offset by occasional exhilarating victories. But it's a journey that we embrace with fierce determination because we understand that every life we touch and every innocent person that we free is truly precious. We will not let them down, and we will not leave them behind. Tonight, I invite you to really listen to the stories that you're going to hear both on this stage and in conversations with our audience. When you have time, look through the program books that are at all of your tables and see the faces of the men and women that you've helped Centurion free over the years. Well, yes, they are stories of unimaginable loss and injustice. They are more importantly testimonies of resilience, courage, and the triumph of the human spirit. Every person in this room plays a part in helping us to advance our efforts to free the wrongfully imprisoned and help them rebuild their lives after their release. This work does not happen without you. There are individuals in this room who have been supporting Centurion for more than 30 years. Our first foundation donor ever, the Prospect Hill Foundation, is here with us tonight. They have been helping us accomplish our mission since 1997. I want to thank all of our event sponsors for helping to make tonight's event a success. Thank you all for your support, for being with us on this incredible journey, and for believing in us. We rely solely on generous contributions from individuals like you to help us achieve our mission. Together, we will create a more promising future for those who have been so egregiously failed by the criminal legal system. Should you be moved to make a contribution this evening, there's a QR code and text-to-give options on the back of your programs, as well as donation envelopes on your table. Thank you for supporting our work. We have an incredible program planned for you this evening. We will honor the most recently freed men that have joined our family. We'll present our Champion of Justice Award, and we'll get to hear from Jim McCluskey and our keynote speaker, John Grisham. My thanks to Dr. Stacy Patton, who will be our MC as we go through this celebration. So, here's to 40 years of making a difference for those who so desperately need our help. Here's to the promise of hope that we can bring as we carry Centurion's legacy into the future. For now, please enjoy some good food and excellent company. Dr. Patton will be back shortly to begin tonight's program. Thank you very much.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello. Shh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and honored supporters. Welcome to this special evening where we have come together to support an organization that embodies justice, compassion, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Centurion. I'd like to start off by asking all of you to give yourselves a massive round of applause for looking so fabulous tonight. Or if you're not really feeling yourself like this, give somebody else a hand for looking fabulous. And let's not forget to give a thunderous applause for all of you showing up tonight to celebrate our incredible honorees for standing up for justice and for righting wrongs in this world. Let me hear you make it thunder in here. And of course, let us raise a glass and give a nod of approval for the chicken and the fish and all that fantastic wine. They are the true unsung heroes of this evening. I am Dr. Stacy Patton, and I have the distinct privilege of being your master of ceremony tonight. Oh wait, should I have said mistress of ceremony? Mistress of ceremony sounds like an invitation to a party where the dress code is all sparkles and mischievous winks. So it's with great humility and excitement that we gather here to celebrate the incredible work of Centurion. Allow me to give you a quick introduction about myself so you're not left thinking, who let this random, crazy lady loose with a microphone? So I'm a former foster kid turned journalist, author, and college professor at Howard University, HU. I am dedicated to championing the children's rights and advocating for their freedom from abuse, namely corporal punishment. My focus as a child advocate is breaking down the harmful school-to-prison and foster care-to-prison pipelines. I also help incarcerated parents rebuild relationships with their children through positive parenting practices. With past experience at the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund as a writer, I've highlighted the challenges wrongfully incarcerated individuals face in reintegrating into society and reconnecting with their families and work lives. My work aligns with Centurion's mission as we both strive to secure the release of wrongfully incarcerated individuals and facilitate their successful reintegration into society. Our collective dedication to justice and freedom forms a powerful force for change, seeking to transform lives and create a more just and compassionate world. Y'all can applaud. Thank you for that, because I needed a pause after that really long sentence. Now let me tell you a little bit more about Centurion. Centurion, based in Princeton, New Jersey, stands as a beacon of hope for those who have been wrongfully convicted, their lives unjustly altered by a system that's supposed to deliver justice. To date, Centurion has successfully helped free 70 precious human lives have been given their freedom. Their freedom has been restored, their voice is heard, and their lives rebuilt. I don't know about y'all, but I got a little choked up when I saw them all standing looking beautiful and upright next to people who love them. These aren't just numbers. They represent real people, real lives, and real families profoundly impacted by the tireless efforts of this organization. And so tonight, we gather not only to celebrate their remarkable achievements, but also to extend our support to raise some money that will fuel their ongoing battle for truth and justice. So, my dear beautiful people, my plan is to keep the wine flowing while you enjoy some powerful stories, and then send you out of here with your wallets lighter than a feather and bank accounts that might need a rescue mission of their own. Cheers to supporting a great cause. So let us join hearts and resources to make this evening a resounding success. Let us be the catalyst for change and the voice for the voices. Thank you all for being a part of this incredible journey with Centurion. You can applaud. So we're going to get started with Dwayne LeBlanc's story. So Dwayne's resilience. Y'all can make it thunder again for Dwayne. So Dwayne's resilience throughout his ordeal is nothing short of awe-inspiring. His incredible journey also underscores the vital importance of supporting Centurion's mission with unwavering financial commitment. His story reminds us that behind each case, there lies an individual whose life is forever altered by wrongful conviction, emphasizing the critical need for resources to fuel the relentless pursuit of truth and justice. Every dollar contributed directly fuels these transformative stories that you're going to hear tonight, enabling Centurion to continue its tireless work, challenging unjust convictions, and restoring hope for countless lives. So as we honor Dwayne's courage tonight, let us also recognize that our financial support is an investment in rewriting the narratives of those who deserve justice and freedom. So we're going to bring up Alan Mayman, who's going to tell you Dwayne's story.
I'm Alan Mayman. I'm a case investigator for Centurion, and it is an honor to be here for this wonderful celebration. Thank you all for coming. It's also an honor to be introducing Dwayne LeBlanc, who last October walked out of a Louisiana prison after serving 28 years for a 1994 murder he had absolutely nothing to do with. I want to tell you a little bit about Dwayne's case. I'll start by saying that we know that wrongful convictions are more likely to happen in the state of Louisiana than almost anywhere else. And New Orleans in the year 1994 helps explain why this is. In a year that saw a record number of murders there, the Orleans Parish District Attorney prosecuted cases with little regard to justice or to what his actions did to communities like the one in the lower Ninth Ward that Dwayne LeBlanc called home. That prosecutor was named Harry Connick Sr., and he remained in office for 30 years. Rogue police officers also ran amok that year. There was one in particular named Len Davis, who ruled the drug trade in the lower Ninth Ward. No young man living in the area could feel safe knowing that Davis, or RoboCop as he was known, was roaming the streets. In fact, Davis was one of the reasons why at the age of 18, Dwayne decided to leave New Orleans for a fresh start in California, where his brother lived. He wanted to get far away from New Orleans and Len Davis. So he left for California in early July 1994. A few weeks later, in the lower Ninth Ward, a man buying drugs was murdered, and a police officer who responded to the crime scene was shot and wounded. The police investigation of the case started with a tip that a young man nicknamed Twin had committed the shootings. Dwayne is a twin. Police then got another anonymous tip that the twin in question was named Dwayne LeBlanc. Several witnesses subsequently identified Dwayne as the shooter. A few months later, Dwayne was arrested in Long Beach, California. They said he fled there after the crime. And 3 years after the shootings, Dwayne went to trial. In Louisiana back then, even people charged with murder could go to prison for life based on non-unanimous jury verdicts. This was due to a racist Jim Crow-era law that persisted well into the 21st century. And it's what happened to Dwayne, who was convicted by a 10-2 jury verdict. We took on Dwayne's case in 2012 because we believed he was living in California at the time of the crime, and also because we had reason to believe that a different twin committed the shootings. It's worth noting that Dwayne's twin, Dwight, who is with us tonight, had an airtight alibi for the night in question. So along with Jim McCluskey and Paul Castellero, I investigated the case for 10 years. Our reinvestigation had two fronts, Louisiana and California. There was no forensic evidence to test, so our work was 100% a field investigation in which we looked for new evidence of innocence. We ended up interviewing close to 150 people associated with the case. And we found a paper trail that showed Dwayne's clear intention to go to California before the murder happened, and we also authenticated an attendance sheet showing he was enrolled at a trade school in Long Beach at the time of the murder. We also developed information about another man, also a twin, who bore a striking resemblance to the LeBlanc twins and who sold drugs from the location where the shootings took place. Many people who knew both sets of twins told us they were constantly mistaken for each other growing up. Even the police officer who was shot and wounded remarked on their resemblance. This man and his twin brother were never questioned by police, at least not officially, because we also established that two New Orleans police officers on two different occasions thought that they had spotted Dwayne in New Orleans, only to find out that the person they were about to arrest was one of the other twins. This fact was buried. One of those police officers was Len Davis, and he is currently on death row for murdering a woman who witnessed him assaulting the twin he thought was Dwayne. Davis's call to his hitman was caught on tape because he was under FBI surveillance at the time for his drug activities. We felt we had enough to free Dwayne, so we went to court. But we also learned during these 10 years that the prosecutorial culture created by Harry Connick persisted. Despite evidence that Dwayne was thousands of miles away from the crime scene and that another man had committed the crime, the DA's office refused to let go of Dwayne's conviction. In April 2019, Centurion Legal Director Paul Castellero filed a federal petition for a writ of habeas corpus on Dwayne's behalf after Dwayne was denied relief in state court. That federal court claim was pending when a new district attorney started reviewing all non-unanimous jury verdicts after they were outlawed by Louisiana voters in 2018 and later by the U.S. Supreme Court. Compelled by Dwayne's case for innocence, the DA's office offered to do its own reinvestigation of the case. But they also made another offer, one that would allow Dwayne to walk out of prison within weeks. Dwayne was faced with a choice: immediate freedom or waiting an indefinite period of time for the DA's office and the courts to step up in a way they had never done before. He chose freedom. And in October 2022, he entered a no-contest plea in Orleans Parish District Court to lesser charges. At his sentencing hearing, both the prosecutor and the judge acknowledged that his conviction was deeply flawed. He was sentenced to time served, and after nearly 3 decades of wrongful incarceration, was reunited with his mother Betty, his father Gilbert, and his twin brother Dwight. That in a nutshell is Dwayne's case. Now I want to talk a little bit about Dwayne, because he's a very special person. Throughout his ordeal, Dwayne maintained an incredible sense of optimism, faith, and sense of self. And since his release, he has been a very busy man. On his first night home in New Orleans, he enjoyed a bowl of his mom's gumbo for the first time in 28 years. The very next day, he set out to make a new life for himself. Now, less than a year later, he has a full-time job with a restorative justice organization, mentoring at-risk youth and conducting conflict mediation for the New Orleans School District. And not only that, building upon the hospice work he did while in prison, he now works as a health aide for an in-home senior care company in New Orleans. He is considering going to nursing school, but in the meantime, he is studying criminal justice at Southern University. Knowing Dwayne, it wouldn't surprise me if by next week he's playing starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Dwayne's got dreams and he's got plans, and he is truly an inspiration. Please enjoy this video about Dwayne's return to freedom before we welcome him to the stage.
My name is Dwayne Twin LeBlanc. I spent over 28 years of my life incarcerated as an innocent man. Through the help of Centurion, I'm free. I proved my innocence. It was a beautiful experience to be free after all those years. The first moment being free out in the parking lot with CM and my twin, my mom, like so surreal. I'll never forget that moment. Because the air seemed more different on the outside of the prison gate than the inside. It was the reality that I was free. Now I'm able to be reunited with my mother and my twin brother, my family. But I want to especially think about my mom. She was there for me 28 straight years. So I come home just with the intent of taking care of her, like repaying her back. I can't thank her enough. Doesn't stay dark in no one life period in society. You have moments where it's dark and the light comes up. So I knew that around the corner it's gonna be sunny again. That sun came up for my freedom. So I thank God for that. And the sun is never going back down. So I got a job working with at-risk kids at Center for Restorative Approaches. My job is to go out to schools and resolve conflict, promote conflict resolution. It's a rewarding job. Something that I did in prison a lot, try to resolve conflict. I come out here and I tell people that I'm very grateful and that I'll never have another bad day in my life. I think I had all my bad days for 20 years. I never have another bad day in life. I appreciate everyone. Much love to you and God bless. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for welcoming me here to New York. This Louisiana country boy, to be in a big city like this is amazing. Be here with my twin brother. We've been separated so long. We getting that vibe back, you know, that type of feeling that the twins have in our youth, when we was very, very young, when nothing separated us. We getting that back, that our mojo back. So thank you guys for amazing experience traveling here on the airplane and buses and having people waiting on us. And that's a great, great accomplishment in my life and our life. We have a lot of friends here, family, you know, not just me and my brother, but I consider everyone in this room as family. And there's a lot of guys that have passed away who was actual innocent, come home, unfortunately not here with us, but they're here with us in our spirit. I want to first start by thanking God, thanking Allah for being, you know, a champion in my life, who was the mainstay in my life throughout my years in incarceration. Without God, I couldn't make it. So I want to give thanks to God. Thank you. I want to tell you how I got in contact with CM. I was doing a lot of legal work. Me and a guy, one of my best friends in prison. His name Ronnie Kuzan. And I used to call him Black Moses because he was always trying to overthrow our situation in prison. Our violation of our human rights, it was a thing that him and I always fought to try to alleviate the oppression that was all around us, that we experienced. And I remember, like it was yesterday, he told me, he said, "Twin, try this address." And I looked at it, and it says Centurion Ministries. Immediately, I just thought it was just, you know, another church. You know, I've written to all the kind of churches. Unfortunately, I didn't get any acceptance. So I gave him his look without saying anything. He said, "Look, man, I know what you're thinking." Because I'm a kind of like a forceful person, you know, trying to get things done. I don't play. And he was like, "Look, man, I know what you're thinking." He said, "But I promise you, they're not the ones to be just, you know, trumped away or looked over." So I typed up the letter. And lo and behold, I was totally wrong. That look was wrong, what I gave him. What I experienced with CM is amazing. I cannot describe exactly how I feel about CM. I can live for 1,000 years, I still can't explain to you exactly what CM is meant for me in my life, my family life. Let me just, let me just share some things. You know, upon my freedom, CM was there. And when I leave from here, CM will still be there. That's how amazing they are. And I remember every problem, when I come home, it was like compounding, back to back to back. And CM, I just pick up a phone call, CM answer the call. Any problem, small or great. And I've been having some great problems. And CM was like a family who was nurturing me back to health. And I love them. So I thank everyone, the donors, I thank the staff, I thank the brothers and sisters who have experienced what I experienced being incarcerated. I thank all the families, you guys give me positivity. You guys pat me on my back, praying for us day in, day out, all that work. God is amazing. So before I leave, I want to share with you what I'm doing to reaching back in the prison system. This is a butterfly called BEB, global.net. You can find us at. But BEB, Believers Emancipating Believers. I believe that no one who are reformed should be in prison. No child, no woman, no man.
And yes, yes, yes. So please support CM and support the cause, the championing cause of oppressed people incarcerated. I love y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
The strange lady is back on the mic. Dwayne, thank you so much for sharing your story. I have a set of twin brothers. I can't imagine that kind of being in the wrong place at the wrong time happening to them in the way it would have shattered my own. So I appreciate you sharing your story and reminding us of the simple things that we take for granted. Flying on an airplane, taking a bus, being able to sit in a nice space and have dinner, have people waiting on you, to take your first swim in decades. Can y'all imagine that? So I hope as we sit here today, we think about the tiny little things that can be taken from us at a moment's notice for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So in a compelling juxtaposition, Dwayne's battle for justice finds a poignant echo in Martin Lucio Santillan's 25-year wrongful conviction saga. His unjust imprisonment, stemming from a flawed eyewitness account and misconstrued evidence, underscores the pervasive flaws entrenched within the legal system. So now, Kate Germain, Centurion Senior Advocate and Investigator, and Richard Miles, founder of Miles of Freedom and Centurion Trustee and Exoneree, will present Martin as we honor him with his celebration of freedom. Kate was his investigator and case developer. Richard's organization, Miles of Freedom, assisted in his post-release and reintegration and employment assistance.
Lucio wrote to us in 2015, and we started working on his case in 2018. It moved along pretty quickly because we knew that DNA testing was going to be the quickest route and the most efficient and final proof of his innocence if we could get a DNA exclusion on it. And unfortunately, in the early days of DNA testing, it wasn't sophisticated enough for us to get what we needed. And it took us quite a few years for Paul then to introduce to us, all of us, a forensic expert he'd been working with who quickly drilled down, and then Paul began working with the Dallas Conviction Review Unit, and things began to move along. So while Martin served a ridiculous amount of time in prison, with a lot of pauses, once it started rolling, it started rolling. But an important part of when Martin Lucio being freed was Richard Miles, and rather than me nattering on about the facts of Lucio's case, I'd like you to hear from Richard, because what his organization does is quite remarkable and important and was extremely helpful in us helping Lucio get his feet on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate, and congratulations, Centurion, on 40 years. As I pondered on how I could introduce Lucio, words just couldn't really resonate with me, and so I wrote down a couple of thoughts, and I wrote down, who can look beyond an injustice for the sake of preserving humanity? How do you repay someone that's blessed you with renewed life, newfound freedom, and a greater sense of humanity? These are the questions that I was faced with in 2009 when Centurion had walked into my life, and after a 15-year battle was able to open the doors of freedom for me. And how do you repay somebody that's given you one of the most valuable things in life that we forget, which is freedom? I will go on about my transition, and I was blessed to be fully exonerated in Dallas Texas, and I started a nonprofit organization, Miles of Freedom, and our mission is to provide holistic services for individuals, families, and communities impacted by incarceration. Now, while that may be a novel thing, I look at Jim McCluskey and the work that he's done, and Centurion and the work that they done, and I wouldn't be standing here had it not been for them and their sacrifices. And so what less can I do? And so in 2021, when I got a phone call from Kate, in 2022, when I got a phone call from Kate around Christmas, and she said, "Richard, we have a case coming to Dallas, and he's getting ready to get out. And I want to make sure that Lucio connects to Miles of Freedom. I want to make sure that the organization Miles of Freedom assists Lucio in his transition, because when you're coming out of prison, you got two releases. You got a physical release and you got a mental release. And I'm glad that Miles of Freedom was able to assist Lucio in his transition. And I'm humbled to stand here today to introduce Lucio Centillion to you all. Thank you.
You're about to meet a man who spent more than half his life in prison for a murder that we now know he didn't commit. Martin Santillan never stopped insisting that he was innocent, and today, the state of Texas officially agreed.
I mean, I looked up at the sky. That's the first thing I did. That's the first thing I did when I came out. I looked up in the sky, and I was like, man, thank you, God. Man, looked out for me, you know. Made things happen for me. Gave me hope, Y'all did. See him, Centurion, I said, well, for y'all,
This morning, Martin Santillan heard the words he's been waiting to hear for more than 25 years. Innocent of capital murder, and now he will finally be able to get his life back.
After a quarter century, it is now on record. Martin Santillan is an innocent man.
I would also like to apologize to you on behalf of Dallas County, the state of Texas, and the entire judicial system. I wish you well and best of luck in your future.
After spending more than 2 decades behind bars for a Dallas murder that he didn't commit, Martin Santillan is now a free man.
Undescribable feeling, man.
Now 49, Martin Santillan always insisted that he was innocent. And now, freedom feels real.
Now it is. Even though I've been out for a few days, now it's real. Now it's over.
It took years and new advances in DNA testing to finally prove it.
The bottom line is Mr. Santillan's DNA was never on the jersey that we know the perpetrator of the crime was wearing.
When you don't investigate and you don't question your own evidence and look to see whether what the accused is saying is true or false, you wind up with a wrongful conviction.
On behalf of the entire Dallas County District Attorney's Office, we want to say congratulations on your exoneration and commend you for never giving up on yourself. It was an honor to be there the day you were declared actually innocent, and we hope you are enjoying the freedom you so rightly deserve. We're sorry you ever had to endure the confines of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, but we are thankful to have played a role in not only making sure justice was done for you, but on behalf of everyone involved in that case.
Hey man, it's lovely out here, man. It's lovely for real. It's a lot to take in at one time, but I'm finna enjoy my life, man. 25, that's a long time, and everything's changed. A lot of stuff hasn't changed, but I mean, ain't too many words I can come up with what I really want, feel inside of how I want to express myself, but man, I'm ready to live my life. I ain't no good at this, y'all, so be patient. First off, it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be here. God, look at me, bro. Not too long ago, I was behind bars. I mean, and now I'm like, come on, boy, serving me champagne and all this. Come on, I'm like, I said, I'm not good. I mean, I really don't know what to say other than look. Okay. Okay. Like I said, you know, I was convicted of a crime I didn't commit. I remember, like, when I got convicted, sentence came down, everything. I ain't gonna lie. I thought my whole life was over. I mean, everything was over. You know, what do you think when a judge or a jury comes and they read a verdict talking about guilty of a murder, something you didn't even do, and you getting capital life? You ain't never supposed to see daylight no more. I mean, I went through a lot in there. We all go through different things. I mean, every person is different when they go into penitentiary. Something you adjust, you adjust and you compromise. You know, everybody does things differently. And I mean, I was like I told them a while back. I was mad at the world. I mean, I was mad at everybody. I didn't mean, come on, you just took my life from me, bro. What am I supposed to think? And I ain't gonna go too much into it, but when CM started helping me, that was like a light at the end of the tunnel. At least, you know, I had something to look forward to now. I didn't ever lose faith, no, because man above, that's who got me through everything, first and foremost. And if it wouldn't have been for CM, I don't even know I don't know what would have happened to me. And like they said, there's a lot of people in there, y'all. Yeah. I mean, I ran into a lot of cats that, I really actually honestly believe that, you know, they end up for something they didn't do, but they don't got the help. I mean, they don't got, you know, people to support them, you know. There's a lot of people in there who ain't got nothing. I was blessed that, you know, God put CM in my path, and man, look at me now.
Can y'all imagine being alive and thinking that your life is over? Can you imagine thinking that you're never going to see the light of day? Can y'all imagine that? I don't hear anybody saying no. Right. So I appreciate you, Lucille, for sharing your story. And as I was sitting here listening to you, I thought back to my days as a writer in the communications office working for the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, which was Thurgood Marshall's civil rights law firm. And my first few months there, I went to the mailroom, to the front office, and there was another huge room adjacent to the mailroom, and it was stacked with boxes full of letters, floor to ceiling. So I asked the secretary, what's in all those boxes? And she says, oh, those are letters from incarcerated people asking for our help. And I said, how long have they been there? And she said, they've been coming in every single week for decades. And so those letters just sit in a box. Somebody like the men you've heard from tonight, hoping that someone will open a letter and hear their stories. It's not because the people in the organization didn't want to do it, they just didn't have the capacity. So all of those unheard voices trapped in an envelope will never see the light of day. But not here, because as your director said, it's not in Centurion's DNA to give up. Y'all can applaud that. So I want to bring these stories all together before we take a break. So in the echoing silence of wrongful convictions, the narrative shared tonight blaze with the urgency of justice, amplifying Centurion's indispensable role in rewriting the stories of the wrongfully convicted. These aren't just tales, ladies and gentlemen. They are cries for justice, calls for compassion, and desperate pleas for truth. Imagine the darkness these innocent men endured. Their lives were eclipsed by wrongful imprisonment. Now, envision the light that Centurion brought into their world. Make it thunder, y'all. The light is so real for me right now on this stage. I'm not a comedian for real life. So I want you to envision the light brought into their world. It's a light fueled by justice, compassion, and relentless determination. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, each dollar you contribute this evening becomes the ink to rewrite these narratives, to help heal the scars of wrongful conviction, to challenge the very foundations of a flawed system and restore hope to those who have suffered unjustly. Your donation isn't just a transaction, it's a lifeline that pulls innocent lives from the abyss of wrongful imprisonment. It's vital to remember that without the financial investments from donors like you, these men you heard from this evening could possibly still be serving time in prison. Your support will be the difference between, listen to me carefully, the difference between a life lost and a life rebuilt, a life redeemed. And as we contemplate these weighty matters of justice, let's not forget that the dinner tonight, hopefully, as you're completing it, will be as satisfying as the justice we seek, just without all the courtroom drama. So we're going to have a few moments of music and eating and chattering, and I'll be back. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I'm not convinced. Make it thunder. Okay. So I have a question for everybody. Was the food a hit, or do we need to send out a search party for the missing seasoning? Was it a hit? The couscous was the bomb. And hey, if you haven't swirled that wine glass enough to look like a wine connoisseur, now's your chance. Da-dun, da-dun. So let's stumble gracefully back into this evening's quest to lighten your wallets. I have another important, more serious question for everybody in the room. Do you know how long it generally takes to get an innocent person out of prison? Does anybody know? Anybody want to shout out a number? 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years. So I want you to think about those numbers, ladies and gentlemen. What kind of possibilities can someone achieve during that time frame? Well, you can earn a degree to unlock new career prospects and personal growth. You can start a business to generate new jobs. You can travel the world to broaden your horizons and enrich life perspectives. You can even raise a child to nurture a bright future during that time period. Listen to me closely. All these prospects are stolen when someone is wrongfully convicted. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Can you hear what I'm saying? For these people, every day spent in prison despite their innocence is a day too long. Can y'all say it with me? A day too long. Say it with me. A day too long. The intricate legal process to rectify a wrongful conviction spanning 8 to 10 years demands money, a lot of it. Money for investigations, money for appeals, money for evidentiary hearings, money for expert consultations, money to build a strong case. Ladies and gentlemen, seeking justice comes at a substantial cost. Imagine a relentless battle against biased proceedings, flawed evidence, and a system resistant to admit mistakes. A system, ladies and gentlemen, that fears too much justice. Say it with me. A system that fears too much justice. I didn't hear y'all. Some of y'all, that wine has really sunken in. It's all right. Picture a journey towards justice and exoneration, but it's an uphill battle with each step heavier than the last. This path demands not just determination, but crucial financial backing to challenge established narratives and present an unwavering case for innocence. With your support, this journey risks being halted, leaving the innocent trapped in a web of injustice. So your financial investment is the key, the beacon of hope, illuminating the way to right these wrongs, to restore lives, and ensure that justice prevails. Y'all can clap. And speaking of unwavering dedication to justice, we turn to a true champion of the cause, Paul Castellero. His remarkable 4-decade career in post-conviction law has significantly shaped the fight for justice and the exoneration of the wrongfully convicted. So Christina Francois, I like saying French people's names. Je parle français. Makes me sound real sexy. Christina Francois, Centurion Assistant Legal Director, will present Paul with the Champion of Justice Award. Give it up, y'all.
Paul has been fighting injustice for 40 years. 40 relentless years of fighting for the innocent in prison and marginalized communities. 40 years of going toe to toe with the most challenging and darkest parts of the system. 40 years of simply doing what is right. Paul is inspiring. I often wonder, aside from Paul's many accomplishments, what makes him the most moving and remarkable attorney I know? Is it Paul's patience? Who said no? For those of you who don't know Paul, he actually cannot bear to wait in a line for 30 seconds. To Paul, waiting in line is the greatest injustice that has ever occurred to mankind. But when it comes to fighting, doing what is right, and serving the people he loves, time becomes irrelevant. Patience is the reason why the moment Paul opens a case file, he is prepared to stand at his client's sides for decades. Patience is the reason why he has secured the freedom, or has been instrumental in securing the freedom of 30 individuals. And then I think to myself, is it Paul's ability to think creatively and courageously at all times? Paul has initiated sweeping reform throughout the criminal system. Just two quick examples include winning the first case to exclude unreliable, hypnotically enhanced testimony, and winning the first case in New York to admit expert testimony on the psychology of police interrogation and false confessions. That is so major, guys. These victories are just the smallest taste of Paul's courage to stand alone in his conviction, speak up for what is right, and for the most part, the first person to speak up for what is right, and imagine new paths and new laws to set his clients free. And then finally, I think to myself, is it just simply, as Martine Santian once told me one evening, that Paul is such a human? I think that's what makes Paul the most moving and remarkable attorney. Paul is sensitive to his clients' lived experiences. He does not treat the injustice and the racism they have faced and continue to face every day as abstract concepts. Instead, their experience is central to his advocacy. He believes his clients when they say they have been harassed by police officers. He never takes that claim lightly and launches into full investigations. He humanizes his clients, and in that way, everyone begins to see his clients exactly the way he does. Growing up in Washington Heights, Paul always had an understanding of what it meant to be socially and economically disadvantaged. As a young public defender, he had an up-close look at what it meant to be charged with something just because you were Black, brown, or poor. Paul learned if he did not learn to speak up for his clients and the injustice they face, nobody else would. He vowed to do it well, and he does so exceptionally today. Paul's deep sense of compassion and humanity is the reason his clients and their families enjoy an authentic connection with him. Our beloved client's mother said it best: "Paul never makes me feel like a stranger. During our first conversation, he talked to me like he knew me forever." With Paul, no conversation is too small to have, and no question is too small to address. I witnessed Paul delight in his client's ability to experience agency and love every day. It is a simple luxury that he's had the opportunity